Bully mocked a single dad in a cafe until he moved like a Delta Force legend. Marcus Hale walked into the Golden Brew Cafe on a rainy Tuesday morning. His 5-year-old daughter Lily clutched tightly to his chest. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments where in the world are you watching from. Her small arms wrapped around his neck like a koala. He had dark circles under his eyes, his jacket was wrinkled, and his boots were slightly muddy from the puddle they had both jumped over outside. He was exhausted, the kind of exhausted that seeps into your bones when you've been doing everything alone for 2 years. Since his wife Sarah passed from cancer, Marcus had been both mother and father, both storyteller and nightmare chaser, both the one who packed the lunchbox and the one who worked double shifts to pay for it. He was not a perfect man. He was not a put-together man, but he was a devoted, loving, fighting every single day kind of man. He found a small corner table, set Lily down gently, wiped her wet hair back from her forehead, and smiled at her like she was the sun. "Hot chocolate, baby girl." Lily's eyes lit up like Christmas. "With the marshmallows, Daddy." He laughed, a tired but genuine laugh, and walked to the counter to order. The cafe was warm and smelled of cinnamon and espresso. It was one of those rare, peaceful moments in his chaotic life, and he held on to it carefully. He ordered a black coffee for himself, and the fanciest hot chocolate the menu offered for Lily, complete with whipped cream and 3 marshmallows. He balanced the 2 cups carefully as he turned to walk back to the table. That is when it happened. A young woman, designer handbag on her arm, expensive coat perfectly pressed, stood up from her chair abruptly and knocked directly into Marcus. The hot chocolate tilted. The coffee splashed. Both drinks spilled, mostly on Marcus, soaking his wrinkled jacket and dripping down his jeans. But a small stream of the coffee caught the edge of her sleeve. She stepped back, looked him up and down with pure contempt, and instead of apologizing, she laughed. Not a nervous laugh, a mocking laugh. "Oh my God," she said loudly, loud enough for the whole cafe to hear. "Look at this mess. Could you be any more pathetic? Walking around like a lost puppy with a kid you probably can't even afford to feed." The entire cafe went quiet. Lily's big brown eyes looked up from the table, confused and frightened. Marcus stood there, coffee dripping from his jacket, jaw tight, hands still holding the now empty cups. He didn't explode. He didn't yell. He just looked at her calmly. The way a man looks when he has survived things that words cannot touch. That stillness made her uncomfortable, so she pushed further. What? No response. Typical. A deadbeat in a cafe pretending to be a father. A man in the far corner slowly set down his newspaper. He was in his early 60s. Silver-haired, broad-shouldered, wearing a plain grey sweater. Nobody had noticed him when he walked in. Nobody ever noticed men like him. That was precisely the point. He had spent decades in that invisible space, operating in silence where others could not. His name was Colonel Ray Donovan, retired Delta Force, 3 decades of service, a man who had walked through darkness so others could sleep safely. He stood up, not dramatically, not with a speech. He simply stood, picked up his coffee, and walked over to Marcus's table. He pulled out the chair across from Lily, sat down, and looked at the little girl with kind eyes. "Mind if I sit with you two for a bit?" he asked gently. Lily looked at her father. Marcus nodded. Ray looked up at the woman who was still standing there, smirking, waiting for applause from an audience that had gone completely cold. "Ma'am," Ray said, his voice low and steady, the kind of voice that had once commanded operations across 3 continents. "This man right here woke up before sunrise, dressed that little girl, braided her hair. I can tell because it's slightly uneven the way a daddy's braid always is, drove through the rain, and brought her somewhere warm, because she asked for hot chocolate with marshmallows. Do you know what that is called?" The woman blinked. The cafe was utterly silent. "That's called love," Ray said, "and I've been in some of the hardest places on this earth. I've stood next to the bravest men alive, and I promise you, what this man does every single day, That takes more courage than most people will ever understand. He turned to the counter and raised his hand. Can we get a fresh hot chocolate for this young lady? Extra marshmallows and a coffee for her father. I've got it. The barista nodded, eyes glistening. The woman opened her mouth, closed it, grabbed her bag, and walked out. Applause began at one table, then another, until the whole cafe was clapping. Lily looked at Ray with wide eyes. Are you a superhero? Ray laughed, a deep, warm laugh. No, sweetheart. Your daddy is the superhero. I'm just somebody who noticed. Marcus gripped Ray's hand across the table, unable to speak. Ray nodded once, the way warriors do. No words needed. That morning, a little girl got her hot chocolate with 3 marshmallows. A tired father was reminded that he was seen, valued, and respected. And an entire cafe remembered that real strength is never loud. It simply stands up, sits down, and speaks the truth. If this story touched your heart, please show your love and support. Like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories, where every story is a reminder that good people still exist, and that small acts of courage change everything. Your support helps us keep sharing stories that matter.